do if you're going to record something. So how the world has changed, the progress that members have made, EcoFleet, we're going to try and simplify things down for people because there's been a lot of acronyms and brand names floating around over the years. We want to try and simplify that down. Talk about green procurement briefly, big change coming through in the market, then sum up and Q&A. And Aidan is going to clock me 30 minutes max, and then I'm kicked off the stage. Great. So how the world has changed. There's an enormous amount going on, and just vast amount. Well before the war started, there was a vast amount of new policy, new changes coming through from the EU, the Irish government, etc. So if you feel like you're drinking from a fire hose, rest assured you are. There is an enormous amount going on. Now, let's just quickly try and summarize it for you in one slide, okay? So first of all, the Climate Act passed into Irish law on the 23rd of July, 2021. And you might go, great, kind of above my pay grade, okay? Maybe not. Carbon budgets became law in Ireland in April 2022, and they were passed without a vote. The opposition couldn't muster more than 7 votes, so they went straight through with very little fanfare, okay? We've got a carbon budget now in Irish law of 49% of our CO2 emissions in 2018. That's what we have to be at by 2030, okay? Now, you might go, oh God, that's yet more numbers. What does that mean? It means minus 51% CO2 emissions to 2030, or in very simple terms, minus 7% CO2 emissions per year, every year to 2030, inclusive of your growth. So if your business is expecting to grow, right, which most of you will, right, all other things being equal, you need to reduce your emissions by 7% per year. That's the need, okay? Now, transport is roughly 20%, sorry, freight, if you like, the FTA members, freight and passenger, it's about 20% of the total transport emissions, just to put things in perspective, and that includes aviation, etc. And, just in case you're thinking, great, I'll be retired, or, things are going to move on, or we're going to stand still, or whatever the case may be, freight volumes are projected to grow by 91% to 2050. So anyone who's thinking of a career in freight or kind of wondering about it, this is a good place to be. This is a growing business. The source for that is the Department of Enterprise, not me, okay? Now, that's kind of where we're going. Absolutely massive seismic changes in terms of law and how society operates in the Republic of Ireland. Russian diesel is no longer available as of last night, okay? The EU made its agreement, and effectively we get all of our oil and diesel by ship. And it's ships is what's been banned from last night, okay? The choke point, though, is diesel refining. So if you look at the price of oil, and you may see the price of Brent crude drop or whatever the case may be, just remember that in Europe, we got an awful lot of our diesel refined from Russia, okay? So in other words, the choke point is going to be the refineries, not just the availability of oil itself. So effectively, there is no price reduction coming through anytime soon. And I'm delighted to say on Taoiseach, Micheál Martin endorsed that statement this morning. You can read it on the front page of the Irish Times, okay? It ain't coming down anytime soon. If anything, it's going up, okay? That's the word from the Taoiseach this morning. Now, one of the things I'm going to chat to you a little bit about is green public procurement. You may say, I'm not in the business of supplying the state, or you may be part of the state, whatever the case may be. All public funding will be green from 2023 onwards, okay? So there's going to be criteria, whether it's a grant for your house, a grant for your business, or you provide transport services, it's going to have an impact. Just in case you're wondering, the government spends 15 billion euro per annum, right, in the economy, okay? So it's a huge chunk of what's going on out there. Okay, and that's going to be supported by a circular economy bill, which is due to pass by June 2022. Now, you may say, great, I don't really buy that many vehicles, or whatever the case may be. Transport services are included. So if you provide courier services to government, taxi services to government, they're all included, and freight as well. Okay. Now, quick slide just to kind of break the ice and get you chatting, because the end game here is a Q&A session. If you want to grab your mobile phones, and I'm doing these using Slido on screen. I know we're all here and we could do a show of hands, but the reason I'm doing this is so you can do it anonymously, okay? And you don't have to say I said or did say or whatever the case may be. I can see a few people already scanning the QR code. Well done, thank you. If you're old-fashioned like me, go to slido.com on your mobile phone, key in the code 1547817. And then basically the question is, how has your business adapted to the Climate Act since the 23rd of July 2021? And click all that apply. Don't know, never heard of it. Internal price of carbon has been set, and carbon budgets have been set inside your organization. Okay, and you can click all that apply. Okay, so far I've got 1 vote, 2 votes. I can see them popping up there, and let's just see how you get on. Okay. We'll do a couple more like this, but the key point is they're anonymous, so your company's not being held to account. You can sort of pop it in there. So 4 votes, 5 votes, that's great, yeah. Okay, so some members have already set carbon budgets. Excellent, good to see it. That's great. As I say, it's to reflect back into the room, and just to say as well to everyone both on camera and here today, all of the slides, all of the poll results will all be circulated to you as a PowerPoint deck, okay, afterwards. So again, we're just trying to do it. And a couple of people have set an internal price of carbon. Fantastic. That's great. Sorry, one person has out of 10. Okay, great. Happy enough with that, just as a way of interacting? Nice and easy. You don't have to get up and talk or like that, like I do. Okay, fair enough. Great. Okay, so we'll do a couple more like that, and obviously you can jump in. So as soon as I move on from this now, that poll will close, but as hopefully the principle's been established. Okay. Yeah, a couple more votes still coming in. 12. Yeah, great. Okay. But just to give you some comfort, by the way, sort of don't know, never heard of it. That's probably about right. Most of us just climate, that's the Greens' problem. It's not really ours, but unfortunately it's everybody's problem now. It's the law of the land, okay? And, being the law, it won't be easily changed by any new government, okay? It's primary legislation. It's not something that was just enacted by a minister, okay? Great stuff. 14 responses there. Thank you. So let's just talk about, FTA members progress. In this new world, how are you doing? What are you doing? So 2021, under the EEOS, which is EcoFleet, but the EEOS is what it's called in EU law and in Irish law, FTA members reported savings of 867,609 litres, or 2,750,000 kilograms of CO2, measured, verified, checked by the government, signed for by Minister Ryan. Okay, just so you're clear of the process. Okay, members received in return as bonuses from Enprova €86,760. Okay, so saving fuel is the name of the game, right? Improving your litres per 100 kilometers is what's going to make you money, going to make you profit as a business, but you will get a bonus from Enprova if you're participating and uploading your data, and that's what they got paid. The average improvement 2021 versus 2020 was 4%, so 4% improvement in litres per 100 kilometers. Okay, this is the link to the FTAI press release around this, and it's important to say, although the FTA members are by far the largest group in the scheme, right? Just to be clear, you are the biggest group in the scheme, so well done. There is a much wider group out there, and the total saving, cumulative saving up to 2021 was 27,244 tonnes for the sector. Okay, that's all the participants that are in it. Show me another sector in Ireland that can actually prove, numbers-wise, measured and checked and signed for by the ministers, that they're actually making a difference. Okay. It's a really, really good job. You should be really proud of it, okay? And bear in mind, I'm up here talking about it. It's all of you guys that do the work, not me, okay? Now, let's just talk about the big change that's coming through. So everything we've done to date has been energy efficiency, and that's still there. There's still a 50% energy efficiency target there out to 2030. And that's what you've been doing under the EEOS, the EcoFleet, the Green Cert, etc. But it's a ratio. So in other words, the more you grow your business, the easier it is to hit the percentage, okay? If that makes sense to everyone. What we're moving to now is carbon reduction, absolute reduction. No matter how much you grow your business, you must reduce your CO2. Okay, really big change, seismic change. Takes a lot to get your head around, okay? Because previously it's been okay to grow the business and reduce your CO2 as you go along the way. You still have to do that. Now you have to reduce it in absolute terms, okay? So you need to look at your total CO2 in kilograms or tons of CO2, and you have to reduce it year on year, every year to 2030, okay? Now, a lot of people at this point normally go, is there going to be any fines? Is there going to be any costs for this? You're already paying for it. It's called a carbon tax, okay? And it's included in the price of fuel. That's the fine effectively on industry, okay? There is a fine on the ministers. There is a fine at a state level. I looked at one particular target. It's costing the state €66 million a year. You won't see it in the press, okay? But that's what the state is paying for missing its targets. How are your organizations going to deliver and grow its services with 51% less carbon by 2030 and net zero by 2050? Again, these are all in law. This isn't pie in the sky, policymakers, press releases, it's law. Who do you need on your team? Who will you need to help you in your business? And think about booking them on the training. We're going to talk to you a little bit more about the training now, but you need to think about who do we need to get trained up within the organization. It might be the accountants, the fuel managers, whoever it may be, okay? We've been throwing, over the years, we've been throwing a lot of acronyms, a lot of different brand names at you, like EcoFleet, EEOS, Enprova, etc. We're going to try and simplify it down and simply call it Green Cert. That's it. Okay, now that's as much for all of us having to avoid explaining ourselves every time we're doing one of these things, but it's also when you're out marketing your business, marketing yourself and pitching for business, you have one single brand name that you can get behind. Okay, so basically maintaining your green cert requires that you upload your liters per 100 kilometers quarterly to the EcoFleet app. So just consider the EcoFleet app as just being a tool in the toolbox, just like Excel. Okay, don't worry about whether you're on or off. Just the key thing is that you upload your data. If you miss 2 quarters, you cannot get paid for the current year. You've got to upload every quarter. You get 1 quarter's grace and that's it. Okay. You're still in the system, okay, and you have to have all quarters uploaded for payment year end. You can maintain the figures, so if you just want to keep all your graphs and your numbers in line, that's no problem. You can do that. We'd urge you to do so, even if you have a bad or busy quarter or whatever the case may be. Just remember to upload the data anyway, but we can't pay you anymore, okay? To get paid, you have to have all of your quarters uploaded, all of your data uploaded every quarter, okay? Simple as that. The app is still there. You're going to see us kind of downgraded, but we're going to say like powered by EcoFleet, just to kind of subsume it a wee bit and just make it clear. We are working on development reporting to ton kilometers, and the whole world is working towards CO2 equivalent per ton kilometer. So whatever your internal metrics, whoever you work for, you need to think about reporting in CO2 equivalent per ton kilometers. We will train you, we will help you, but the whole world is working towards this. It is a bit of a journey, okay? Energy efficiency only counts towards the EOS and the funding, but obviously everything you do counts towards becoming greener. And I'll give you some examples of that later on, something a little bit different from what we normally talk about. Currently, Q1 uploads, 8 out of the 60 members that are online have uploaded. Now, this is Ireland. It's very much lastminute.com. We know, but look, you really got to start doing this. Put a date in the diary 2 or 3 days after the quarter end and get uploaded, okay? Because there could be something else crops up later in the quarter that stops you doing it, okay? Everyone happy enough with me so far? I'm not speaking too fast, yeah? Okay, grand. So what do green metrics do? What does green add to safety? Because a lot of the ethos here, and you know, if we go back to when the FTA was founded here in Ireland, it's all about safety first, compliance, professionalism. We've heard about the different apprenticeship programs as well. Passenger safe, truck safe, van safe. So effectively, you know, if we go truck safe, bronze, silver, gold, what does green add to it? It adds metrics, right? So if you have 0 incidents, how do you know that everything is going okay? So green gives you the glue, if you like, to bring things together. Those metrics of liters per 100 kilometers, tons of CO2 per 100 kilometers, they're the kind of things that can say, yeah, we are still improving, right? We're still improving our business. So in terms of the green certificate and the green standard, you need to gather your data pretty much the same as you do for the diesel rebate scheme. You need an annual action plan signed by your CEO, upload your results quarterly, and then you get paid the bonus annually. Okay, that's effectively how it works. Now, if you're not doing something like that already, you know, this will help you to get organized. It gives you a bit of structure. Okay. So competence. This is one of the key things you're going to see when it comes to procurement, etc. How are you competent? How are you certified? You know, people are going to challenge you a lot more than they used to. You know, this idea of greenwash is doing the rounds. People will want to see that you're actually certified, independently checked. Okay, so that's what the FTA bring to it. So how do we establish competence across the industry in climate action, sustainability, carbon budgets, fuel and energy management? Well, obviously the first thing is you have a track record. You have your data, you have your savings. And as we've always said to people, even if you only just joined and got green certified in recent weeks, months or years, and congratulations to those who did achieve it here today, you know, you can backfill the data. There's no problem, right? You can show the data, you can fill it in on the app, and you know, the graphs will populate themselves as well. And then we talk about the certification accreditation. So this is part of how the industry is going to show the buyers that we are green. We are performance-based, okay? So we have a training program. We're going to call it the Green Certificate Training. Okay, we're doing this for a couple of reasons. Number one is the Smart Transport Manager Training, which is one that we've done before. Ken's done it. I don't know, do you want to comment on it, Ken? Or was it any good? Like, was it worth your while? Thanks. Thanks very much. Yeah. Thanks very much indeed for the plug, Ken. But just, you know, Smart Transport Manager Training was the international standard. You know, internationally, that's great, But realistically, we can't qualify for SkillNet funding and all those other things if we keep bringing the international content. So I'm the trainer for the Smart Transport Manager training, in case you're wondering what the relationship is, right? But nonetheless, to get SkillNet funding, to make it your own here in Ireland, to make it properly part of who you are as the FTA, we're rebranding it as Green Certificate, okay? Just to be clear. So very similar content. STMT had a lot of Irish content in it, so taking it from there. So one brand, one certificate, make it qualify for SkillNet. We'd give a certificate of attendance to whichever people attend. So there's, the individuals who attend get a certificate of attendance, and then once you come back and that individual comes back with a signed climate action or fuel saving plan, then we'll issue a cert to the company. Okay, does that make sense? So in other words, it's okay sending someone on it, but if they don't get the backing of their boss to go and act on it, you're not getting the cert for the company. Okay, that's fair enough. That's how STMT was run globally. So what are the modules? Business case module, mapping the current users and activity data, targets and opportunities, bring it all together in an action plan, and then pitch it. So we give people the chance. We found this to be very useful and very powerful for the individuals who came on the training course to actually pitch it to, at this stage, after, it's a 2-day course, by the afternoon of day 2, they're all feeling pretty comfortable. Everybody knows each other. So you get the chance to just pitch it back to your peers there. A little bit of practice before you head back to base and have to pitch to the boss. Okay, so that's kind of the idea. It worked out very, very well, and it was a good way to do it. So that's what we're planning. That's coming forward in September. So at the end of the course, these are the learning outcomes. A critical understanding of context and language. So you're hearing a lot of acronyms. I've probably said a few here already this morning. People are going, what's he on about? Yeah, that's okay. We have training for that. The climate act and carbon budgets. What will they actually mean for your business? How will you translate them into local targets and litres of diesel? Okay. How to calculate a science-based target. So, your boss may say, well, look, I really want the photo op with a science-based target. I want to be able to put that out. Great. There's a calculator for that. We'll train you how to use it. Okay. A global calculator. How to prepare for new collaborative supply chains. So this is one of the things, a lot of organizations in transport tend to be very standalone, independent. We provide our service. That's great. But the way the world is going, it's collaboration. It's openness in data, openness in terms of how you're performing. It's not something we're all ready for yet, but that's the way the world is going. Okay, so we need to train you up and make you comfortable with that. And then make a start on your introduction and the climate action plan. So if you like, for anyone you send on the training course, they're going to come back at the end of the 2 days with an actual action plan, like top 5 things to do. Okay, and like Ken mentioned, things like drag and parasitic drag. We live in the windiest place in Europe, and I have to say, from a drag point of view, it's amazing what the state our trucks are in, but that's just my personal hobby horse, so I'll stop there. Aidan's looking at me on the clock, right? So quick question then, as members, right, and FTA, here's another quick poll for you. How would you like to see competence and training delivered? So this is just a little bit of an opinion poll here today. Online 1 hour per month, open to all, 2-day in-person training with certificate, or neither, we're just too darn busy. Okay, so just give us a quick flavor of what your thinking is, because we are doing the 1 hour. We've given a little go, right? We'd like to do more of it. We want to see what you're favoring, and then is it 2 days out of the office where you come back with an actual concrete plan? Which way is it? Let's just take a quick vote on that. Oh, you're very quick. 8 of you back already. That's brilliant. Excellent. Thank you. That's interesting. So the 2-day away from the office is kind of finding the most votes, which is great. So that's a good vote of confidence, I think, Catherine. We keep that moving. And then there's still a fair bit of support for the 1 hour per month. We've tried it. We've started it. It sounds like we'll do more of it. So a little bit, someone was saying to me that a refresher would be good. So the 1 hour might be people who've done training with us before, come along to the 1 hour training, contribute both your knowledge, your insight, and your questions. In other words, there's no monopoly on knowledge here, right? A lot of you will be doing very good work in particular areas. Bring it to the 1 hour, once a month sessions, and show off a little bit. Why not? Okay. Great stuff. Thank you very much. Got 14 votes in, and that's fantastic. Thank you. To see the training loaning. So you might say, okay, what's the urgency? I haven't been hit with this yet. Okay, so as I said to you earlier, we'll spend just a couple of minutes explaining what's going on with green procurement. This again is another huge change, and it's only one. Aidan asked me there about the carbon border adjustment mechanism. Like, good night. Congratulations to the Brussels office on synopsizing it into three or four paragraphs. Seriously, this stuff is huge. Like, there's one act that I have to read. It's 380 pages long. Right? And I'm supposed to know what's in it. Like, it's just huge. These things are, war and peace that are coming at us. So it's really tough. So I would certainly say, look to FTA, look to the Brussels office in particular to put a nice, simple synopsis. You have to be there in the heart of it to understand what's going on. So I'd certainly give the explanation that's there my vote. But I'm going to chat to you a little bit about green procurement, because by hook and by crook, I've ended up involved in this and there. So, is there an urgency? There is. There's a climate emergency. The climate is there, but probably a lot of us would just go back to the price of fuel, because the price of fuel is what we're seeing today. But fuel is the biggest single emitter, the single biggest impact for transport operations. So it kind of makes sense to look at it that way. But let's talk about what's going on with procurement. So by 2023, all procurement using public funds will need to include green criteria. That's the policy direction. What does that mean? If you're working for someone that's funded by the government in any way, shape or form, they have to apply green public procurement criteria. So whether that's hospitals, whether it's timber, whatever it may be, right? Transport services, courier services, etc. They have to do it. Now, in the best traditions of Ireland, this will not happen like a light switch. It's going to be kind of a drip change over time. Since this came out last year, I've trained 300 public procurement experts, and believe me, I'm only one person. There are lots and lots of other people doing training as well. So the public procurement, the people who procure on behalf of anyone who is funded by government, is doing the training on this. So what we're going to try and do now is just share a little bit of where the secrets are, okay, and take you through it. So typically what a lot of people think of is, well, I'm buying a new vehicle, what can I do? And you might say, well, let's look at the emissions and CO2, but you can see a whole bunch of other things like there. This example here is from a large semi-state who shall be nameless, but they did the training a while back and they were able to tick these boxes, but they needed to start ticking all these other boxes as well, okay? So lots and lots of different things coming through. Now you might say, Conor, where the hell did you get this? Like, what is this, right? So it comes from an EU website called the Green Public Procurement Criteria website, okay? And the only reason that I seem to be aware of it is that I worked on one of the standards way back, right? But it's amazing the level of ignorance of this. This is sitting out there. You can literally download it and read it, okay? And you may say, how does this relate back to EEOS? Because grams of CO2 per kilometer is direct. You can calculate it directly from liters per 100 kilometers. So you remember we were talking about that earlier? You're getting paid based on improvements in liters per 100 kilometers. There's a direct relationship with what's happening here, okay? So just keep that in mind. Now, thankfully, you don't have to read the hundreds and hundreds of pages that I had to work on just for transport services alone, right? Because that's what's in there in the EU one. The EPA has actually paid another consultancy, Greenville, I think they were called, to simplify it all down, right? So if you want to read the short version, go to the EPA's website. If you want the full technical detail, you're working for a large organization, a large corporate, go to the EU one, because that's where all the technical guidance is. But I noticed, from my work out there, in Brussels working on this years ago, a lot of the people that you're kind of connected in with LinkedIn, when the Irish government came out with this, the EPA, a lot of people going, oh, well done. It's so much easier to read. It's so much quicker. So if you're looking for the quick version, download the EPA criteria. It covers things like food, energy, cleaning, transport, paper, all sorts are in it, right? But the key thing is nice and simple, easy to read. So the quick read is the EPA version. The long read is the EU version, okay? Now, you might say, well, I'm already green. I've already got my green cert. I've done my liters per 100 kilometers. I'm using green fuel. What else can I be doing? So just to give you an idea of some of the depth, a question I often ask transport operators, how much of your parts do you recycle? Like if you have a mirror knocked off that's useful, or a vehicle that's written off, do you take the various bits like the doors, the non-safety related parts off the vehicle and reuse them? Some people do, some people don't. But that's an example of the kind of thing you might do from a green perspective. It goes way beyond just your fuel performance. So this particular example here, they've actually worked out how much CO2 they saved by reusing parts, non-safety parts, right? So it's a nice little case story. I know Irish fleets do it, so that's why I've popped it up here, just to open your eyes to how much wider this topic will be than just liters and CO2. So you may be doing things already. If you are, get the story written up, try and calculate how much CO2 you're saving, and make sure it's part of your story when you're pitching to customers in the supply chain and also in the public sector. That's straightforward enough. Okay, so again, you can click on these links and click on them when you get. Internationally, if your customers are international, if they're selling to you, or sorry, you're selling to them and you're buying from them, this is the international equivalent, the Sustainable Freight Buyers Alliance. So, someone mentioned ferries earlier. The ferry companies are going to be hammered by these guys, right? Because they're going to be looking for transparency in CO2, right? And that means transparency in fuel. okay? Because you can very quickly calculate back from CO2 figure what the fuel use actually is. So while absolutely I can hear CO2, more work, more hassle, just remember it's going to open up things an awful lot. You're going to be able to get a lot more insight into how your business operates and how, in this case, say the ferry companies are operating, just to pick an example, or the shipping companies. So just be aware that all of the major shippers, buyers, carriers, etc., are involved in this. So some of the big corporate names that we've heard about here this morning who introduced themselves sit on the board of Smart Freight. And again, you can look at this later. We're not going to bore you with it now. How is performance going to be measured? How is success going to be measured? In Irish policy and law, it's going to be in tons of CO2 reduced. That is the measure of success. You'll hear things about biodiversity, CSR, SDGs. They'll all matter, but the number that they're going to be held to account to is tons of CO2 reduced. That's the number. So I think it brings us straight back to where we started with the green certificate program that you guys have been involved in for so many years. Okay. So this is me now finishing up. I'd be delighted. Yeah, that's great. So number one, build on the work done to date. You know, make sure you're getting your diesel rebate scheme funding back, right? Claim back every litre you can. Do your quarterly updates and uploads to EcoFleet. All you need is your litres and kilometres and your evidence. So whatever spreadsheet that you use internally is all we're looking for. We're not looking for any extra work, okay? And if you are doing extra work, shout, call myself, Paul, the team, and we'll do our best to help you find a way around it. We're working towards reporting in CO2 per tonne kilometre, right? So you're going to need to start collecting how many tonnes you're carrying, okay, in whatever shape. So you might have cages, cases, whatever. Start thinking about how you're going to convert that to tons, okay? And it may be in your telematics system. The latest upgrades are actually providing it automatically. As I said, join the Green Freight to help you understand how to do it, and do work towards this independent audits, because that will give you that evidence that, you know, it's not just me saying I'm green. FTA have checked me, I am green, okay? And here's the data to back it up. Whatever you decide to do training-wise, do write and sign an action plan. Do book people on the next training course. 27th to 28th of September is when we're going to put it on. We'll get all the forms up, etc. We'll be out, you know, promoting this when we can. But nonetheless, it's there. The monthly webinar dates, these are kind of just how's it going fuel saving wise? What do you want to talk about? Get someone, a member who's done something before you to chat about a particular topic and spread the word. Don't forget about the Alternative Fuels monthly meeting that Aidan mentioned earlier. And then last but not least, SEAI have just announced, just last week, Thursday, there is now a special energy award for transport. So if you have the data, and you must have at least 6 months data to enter an SEAI energy award, you can now enter. So you're a privileged group. You're one of the few groups that has the data to enter this. You should go for it. And I just opened my email this morning. There's a reminder email from SEAI this morning. Get people applying for this. You know, apply for it. It's there. Obviously, log in and upload your data. As I said, quick reminder on those new rules. You only get 1 quarter's grace now. You can't go back a year. You can't go back 2 quarters, 3 quarters, etc. You need to keep this up to date. And as I say, we want to do that. So finally, just to finish up, final slide. You know, after this session, are you more likely to, and it's just more likely, you're not, because it's anonymous, it's not an absolute commitment. What are you more likely to do? Just pick all that apply there, just to give us some feedback, and then we'll go to the Q&A. How am I doing on time? Okay, grand. Okay. Okay. So as I say, I didn't want to bore you with a lot of the climate slides and things that we've done before. That can wait another day, but I think you can begin to see some of the imperative that's coming through. If buyers are going to start asking for this stuff, you know, it's going to go beyond just the image of the company. You're going to actually have the numbers to back this up, and the staff and team and people trained as well. So, okay, that's great to see. Good, healthy votes there, and the attendance at the monthly fuel saving webinars. That's fantastic. And yeah, action plans. I think whoever you decide to follow, I mean, these things are available on the net, right? Whatever you decide to do please start thinking about your action plans. Attend the alternative fuel meetings, and then go for green certification on top. And obviously, we've got a reasonably self-selected group here, so that's that. Thank you very much indeed, folks. With that, as I say, we've just covered how the world has changed. I said you've got to make your company aware of the Climate Act, the Climate Action Plan, and the carbon budgets. Keep aware of those progress. Like, if you save fuel, you're going to get paid a bonus. So there is going to be an actual check in, well, not quite, electronics funds transfer nowadays that will come in. And then EcoFleet, as I say, we're trying to get rid of the acronyms, just make it one simple brand name: Green Cert, FTAI Green Cert. covers everything in one go. Okay, competence, make that time for employees to attend the fuel saving webinars, the meetings, and as a prepare and train. And then with that, that's me. Thank you very much. Questions, if any? Stunned into silence. Thank you. Yeah, and interactive. Yeah, yeah, and I think. Yeah, and I think that's true. And like a lot of the things that we would have in the training program, have been around for a long time, right? And it's very rare when we're working with fleets that we teach someone something new. What tends to happen is we remind them of something they've forgotten to do or they used to do, but for whatever reason they've fallen out of the habit. Okay, and it's all about just doing all those little things all the time. Okay, great stuff. Any other questions? No one worried about the carbon tax or what's going on or anything like that? No. Yes. Hmm. Yeah.